Good afternoon. Actually, Happy New Year to everyone. Thank you for joining our webinar sessions today. Before we start, can I get a raise of hands if you can hear me so that I know that it's working for everyone? Yep, cool. Thank you. Thanks, Roger. Thanks, Shirley. Okay, seems like everyone can hear. Great. The webinar will be recorded and will be posted on our website by tomorrow morning for those that want to revisit at your convenience, or for those that cannot attend today's sessions. Okay, today's webinar is all about the Gov Reports digital authentications or digital signature, starting from the basics, from the setting up on how to use some of the features to best facilitate the reporting process in a practice. Presenting today's webinar is Ali Cochran, who is a registered BAS agent and who has been using Gov Reports for her own bookkeeping business for many years. So hopefully you can pick up a few tips and tricks on how Ali uses Gov Reports digital signature in her practice and apply to your own practice and workflow. Without further ado, I'll let Ali take over.
Fantastic. Thanks, Tiana, and welcome everyone. I'm looking forward to presenting this to you. So today we're going to look at back to basics with digital signatures. So what we're going to be looking at today is using digital signatures to have your clients authorize various lodgement documents, customizing some of the messages to accompany your documents. We're looking at changing some of the default document settings for reminders and the expiration of documents, creating your own digital signature to attach to documents being sent for signature, creating forms and uploading them for electronic signature, and letters and templates, and being able to send documents for e-signature via the letters and templates area. So authorizing documents using digital authorization is another way of getting you more organized in your business and in your practice. You're taking advantage of some of those tools that are going to help you automate and more efficiently use your time. Automate some things like reminders, automate about the expiration of the documents, automate the templates that you use. And there are a number of reports that we can utilize and send for authorization using digital authentication. You know, BAS lodgement, STP payroll events, tax file number declarations, TPAR reports, just to name a few. So let's take a look at how we set up for digital signatures in Gov Reports. So I'm just going to change over from our PowerPoint to our Gov Reports. So when you first log into Gov Reports, as you may be aware already or not, you will land at your sort of dashboard here, giving you a bird's eye view of what's happening within your practice and what you have, number of reports, what's been lodged, reminders, etc. So one of the first things I'm going to look at is that we may already have completed a report within the program within Gov Reports itself, and so we're going to go straight across here into the saved reports. And you can see here that I have an STP payroll event that has been saved and has a status of valid. So in order to be able to send an electronic signature, send a document for an electronic signature, it needs to have that valid status. If you go to draft, it won't give you that option. So if I click on this valid document here, you'll see that my hamburger or my little icon, 3-tier icon here, gives me some options. I can view the document, I can generate an invoice, I can delete it, etc. I'm just going to go. My thing has gone back away. I should. Yep.
Ali, because you already halfway drafting the drafting it for digital signature, so it won't give you an option for send for signature in that hamburger.
Oh, because I was playing with it this morning, that's why. So I'm going to go and bypass that to get around this. But normally when you drop it down here, you will have an option to actually send it for signature rather than just view document. I'm going to edit my document and pop straight into the document. I'm going to just change wise. I'll just put an email address in for the moment, edit. Need to put an email. I'll just put an email in just for the moment to get around this because I hadn't planned on this happening. All good things come to us. All right, so if I edit here now, it's going to take me in here to my STP information. I'm going to go
right
through.
down to the bottom.
Pardon?
Go right down to the bottom.
Yep, and click save or submit.
No, just go right down to the bottom. You have the options.
There it is.
There you go. Save valid.
So in here, I have the option to save it as a draft, validate it, and send it for signature or lodge. So in here, I'm actually going to click to validate it and send it for signature. If I click that submit button now, what it's going to do is it's going to take me through, when my screen comes up, of course, wants to go slow time as usual, the afternoons. It's going to take me into the actual digital authentication part of GovReports. And so what you'll see here is it's already got the file that we have, the STP here. If we needed to upload additional files, we could. And you'll see in here that I have the name and the email pre-populated because that's what's associated with this client. Now, there are a couple of areas I want to touch on here to highlight to you before we proceed. First of all, your file format is PDF. It needs to be a PDF. And as I said before, you can add multiple PDFs at one time. Now, once those PDFs have been uploaded, if you look down here in the message to all recipients area in the subject line, you'll find that the file will be loaded into this subject line. So this file name here has been uploaded here into the subject line in the message area. Now, we have our recipients area. You can see the default that's added in there. However, if that was not a person that you wanted in there or you needed to add another person, you have the option to add another name in here and the email will pop up. And then we have a designation. Now, if the email is not there, you will need to complete that. It will not continue on without that valid email address in there. Now, the designation here is an option of whether they are the person who is signing the document or a view only. So you can give two different options there. You might want to send one to the signee and then someone else might like to be copied in. So you might be sending it off to the director to sign the document, but the accountant has requested a copy to be sent to them for their records or something like that. So you could copy them in so they've got a copy as well. You'll also need to assign the type of access security. So you have a couple of options in here. You have the option to send a security code that when you send this document off, it will send a code to that email address and they'll need to use that code to access the document. That added level of security to protect the information and data that's in there so that people who may inadvertently intercept a document won't necessarily have the code. You can set a security code, and if you do, you'll need to put a security code in here. As I said, you can have those multiple recipients. Additionally, you'll see here the option to add a private message to go with that email to that person. And you'll see the private message is on both lines. So you could have two separate private messages going out. In the second area down here, you're going to find the message that is going by default, because it goes to the default messages first, with that document. So in here, you can see that it has hi and it has a placeholder. So you in here, these in brackets here, this signifies a placeholder that's been set up in this message. And down here, you can see the different placeholder options. Here's our basic message. You could use that message. Alternatively, if you have saved messages, you have the option to select one that is already set up, or you could type your own message and then save that message as a saved message. And we're going to talk about where the managing of the saved messages are in a moment. I'm going to go back to my default for the moment. I'm going to leave it as this for the moment, just to get an idea of how that looks for the person receiving it at the other end. You can preview this, and so you can see this is what would be going out and the way that it would look. And it would say here, the document secured by a code, contact this, and so in here, I set him up specifically with a code. So they'd have to contact me to do that. And it tells you also what they need to do in order to be able to sign the document. Now, obviously, do not share this email is very important. So that gives you a little bit about the actual overview here. Now, before we proceed to actually authorize this and send it on its way, first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to remove this extra one here. I don't want this one at the moment, so I'm just going to take that out of my equation. So we talked about the fact that we have these messages, and we have some default messages, and we have some saved messages. So I'm going to show you how you can access your saved messages. Now, at the moment, if I can save this as a draft, because then I can go back to it. And you can see when I save it as a draft, it takes me back out to my documents to show me where I'm at with all my documents. I'm going to show you in here in the settings in the top right corner how we can go to my messages. Now in here you can see that there are 2 messages that have been set up as default messages. To create a new message, you simply click the add button, give a title to this message, and then give it a subject. Oh, fingers aren't working. So in the message here, I'm going to go, dear name, please find attached your quarterly BAS for your review and signature. Once approved, we will lodge this on your behalf and send through a copy of the lodgement receipt and payment instructions. If we can be of any further assistance, please let us know. Kind regards. Okay, so now I am going to save that message, and so this message is now in my bank of messages. Now you can save up to 5 messages in here. Is that correct, Tiana? I am right, it's only 5? And so in here,
yes.
yep,
Fine.
so in here, we'll save that message. Now I'm going to go back to that original document that we saved in draft mode. To get back into my digital authentication, if I click on the multicolored square here in apps, no, I'm not, I'm going back to my documents because I'm already in digital authentication. I can see it here, and you can see now that it's come up with this needs to sign, because that's the next logical step we were going to. So I'm going to open
just
one.
The reasons it got needs to sign is because the system identified that you've got the email, the email for the person to sign is the same as the person that is the main account holder or the account holder. It's the same email as your
Normally,
email.
yeah, in draft. So I'm actually, because this one, the way I've done it, I'm going to delete it, and I'm going to go back where I was before to my Gov Reports, go back to my lodgements, into my saved reports. In here I have my valid. Now I can go send for signature because I've got rid of that one that I had just set up. And I'm back to where I was. So there's multiple ways to get around it.
You notice that the recipient, the email is the same as the email that's on the account holder.
Yeah, I'm going to change that.
Yeah. Okay.
So I've changed to a different email address of mine. So in here, and what Tiana is highlighting there is, as you can see, I'm logged in as alicochran@gmail.com. When I try to send it there, it automatically recognises that I'm the one who's supposed to sign because the email address is the same. So I've had to change this here, so it's requesting a signature. Okay, let's look now. We've looked at the messages part. You can see here now, if I go to my saved messages now, I could choose that quarterly BAS one if I wanted to choose it, and that would bring up the message that I had just created. I don't need to in this case because it's a totally different thing, it's STP, but that is the options that I can do there. The other option I can do here is if I go my saved messages and I don't select one, I can type something in here, and then down the bottom, I can save the message that way rather than having to go through settings at the top. Once again, I'll go back to my default message. Now, when we're here, we also have some options to further go into the advanced settings, and that is because there is some limitations on how long a document can stay there waiting to be signed. So at the current moment, it's 120 days before the document will expire for signing. So if you send it out on the 1st of January and on the 10th of October, they still haven't signed it, the document will have expired and you will have to go back into the saved and recreate and resubmit it for signature. Now, we can go in and change some of those default settings. So in here, one of the things we can do is we can change it here to make it more or less number of days by default. And we can also set up a notification to let us know 7 days before the document's due to expire that it's going to expire, so it pops up as a notification to us. That way we have the opportunity to send a reminder on to the client to sign. Now, Tiana, I'm not sure, you might be able to clarify, because it never expires in my case. If you send a reminder, does that change the document expiry date?
No. So,
Okay.
so think of it as simple. For example, the activity statements or the activity statements, it has a due date, a set due date. So if you know it's gonna be due on the 28th or 25th this month, So today's the 1st, you've got 24 days, so you can change the document expire in 24 days. And maybe notification 7 days or 5 days or 3 days beforehand, that the system will automatically send out the email reminding the clients that the document will expire in 5 days or whatever days, however days that you want to set in for it to expire. And so yeah, that will it's entirely up to you how you want to use it. So that's usually based on the terms that, the terms and understanding of what you have with your clients, or based on the actual lodgement due date of that document, if it's relating to compliance.
Other thing we can do in here is also set a reminder. So it reminds the sign after so many days.
Yep, the reminder is basically automatic. It's you want to have, like I said before, it's with you, Ali, is that for me, if I open the email and I then possibly forget that I have opened that email and remember what it was and try to come back and sign it. So the reminder will automatically send out, like 7 days after the first email that got sent out, and repeat every 7 days. Yep, that's fine. After that,
I'm getting that reminder coming through. So that's stopping me having to pick up the phone or send an email from my own email, following them up, chasing them up, because I know this reminder is going out, and I will also monitor it. Obviously, we will monitor it, because as we all appreciate, our clients are busy too. They're busy. They've got time to do that, and things get lost in the emails. There's no doubt about that. With the volume of emails that are happening, things get lost. But if we have this automation happening for us in the background, it's going to help us having to minimize how much work we're having to do, so that we keep checking, but we don't have to necessarily check, phone as frequently. So with that on there, we can have that set up that way, and I'm going to save that for the moment. Once I'm happy with this page, I've got my files, I've got the email it's going to, we're sending a security code to an email address. I'm going to send it to the email address rather than a security code. I wouldn't recommend doing the no security. We've got the message that we like. I will go through and also make my spelling adjustments like I do. And I always put a please in front here. And I just put in my part. And now I'm going to go to the next screen. The next screen is the signing screen. This contains all the information about the signing. Now, if you have, if you need to add your own signature to a document that you are sending out, maybe a tax, a tax return, whatever it may be, that you need to actually sign it as well as the client, you have an option on the left here about the signatures. So the edit signature option allows you to create your own signature for adding to documents. You can upload a signature, you can draw the signature, good luck with that, that's always fun, or you can type your signature. I'm just leaving it typed for the moment because my drawing skills are not very good. I can then say place my signature here, and if I do that, I'm just going to click it on the document here, and you can see here that my signature has now been placed on the document. So that's if you need to put your signature on one of their documents. The set signature location relates to their document, where they need to sign the document. And you'll notice in the Gov Report ones, nearly all of them have a signature box. So it makes it very clear that you can take this, when you set the signature location, you can click on this X here in the box to get their signature. You don't have to worry about that date field. The reason you don't need to worry about that is when they electronically sign it, it will automatically date it for you. You'll also notice that if there were multiple pages, you would have a couple of pages there, and you'd be able to move between them. This has only got one page, so it's very straightforward. When you're finished, you will click on the Send for Signature. And that will then send that out for signature. And you'll see here, and that's just binged and popped into my email, you'll see here that it takes you back to the My Documents. This is showing you the My Documents area in the digital authorization. And you can see the My Girls design is now pending signature. You can see that there are a number of draft ones that never went through, and you can see that there are some signed documents. Now, once you're happy with these signed documents, you can also archive those if you choose to. Just going to leave them there for the moment. Now, whilst it is on that page, I am just going into my email, and it should pop up on your screen, hopefully, what's going to come up now. And you can see here, it's now asking me for the code, which has come through via my email. And I'm now submitting that. And now it's asking me to place my signature. So this is me, not me as the BAS or tax agent. This is me as the client. And so I'm just going to click on here somewhere. There we go, it's there. And you can see that I can remove that signature if I'm not happy where it is. I can move it down a little further. No, don't like that either. Move it down a little bit more. No, that's not good either. So I'm just going to be happy with it where it is. You can see the name, the date, and the time have been stamped there. And then I would click the Finish button. And I just might say, thanks very much, and submit it. So it's just doing its little thing, hopefully. And so now it says your signature's been submitted. So I'm just going to close this tab. I'm going to refresh my screen here. And as a BAS or tax agent, you will receive an email to tell you that that document has now been signed. And you can see now the status has changed to signed. So now, if I go back into my saved reports in Gov Reports, and I go into the saved reports here, you can see my status is signed, which would allow me then to lodge that document. Any questions about that so far before we move on to the next section? Okay.
Okay, before you go, I also want to add, when the client signed the documents that and submit it to the person that sent it to them, they also automatically receive a copy of the document that they've signed in their email.
I just got that coming through into my one just then.
Yep.
Okay. So that's when you've got something pre-existing in your saved reports. If you were going through and actually going through the process of actually doing the actual return, you would go through all the normal steps you would for the completion of the document. I'm just getting it coming up now. You would complete all the bits and pieces that you have to. And like I did in the beginning, at the end of the option here, we would have an option to save, validate, and send for signature. And then we hit the submit, it would take us into that digital authorization again. So sometimes we'll have one where, as you saw before a minute ago, where my status here was just valid, and I had opened it up and I had the 3 dots and I was able to choose send for signature. I can't do that here now. I can just view the document because it's already signed. But if I was doing an actual preparation of a return, I could go through all the steps, and the last step would be the validate and send for signature. Now, the actual digital authentication isn't limited to just the forms that you have in GovReports. You can use digital authentication for more than that. I use digital authentication for a number of things. So you can create and upload documents for signature. You can create letters and templates and send them for signature. So let's have a look at how we can do that. So probably one of the best examples has been, everyone I'm sure can remember that the JobKeeper declarations that we all had to do and send every month. One of the things that I did was I set the templates up in a PDF template, but I sent them off for signature to the clients via GovReports digital authentication. And the reason I did that was it allows me to also link it to a client, and I can keep track of what's been sent. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to go straight into the digital authentication again by clicking on the wonderful coloured little bar there for apps and choose digital authentication. Once again, I have this one here. Now, before I go on, I just want to say something too. If, for example, I've made a mistake and I'm not happy with that one, there are options along the way, usually before it's signed, to be actually able to void them. So in here, I could, if I was about to send it off for signature, I could actually void it and get rid of it. So in here, you'll see that I can click on void, delete. So if I deleted that one, am I right, Tiana, in saying if I deleted that one, it would put it back in my saved file?
No.
No?
Once the client has signed it, then it will keep the records. But if the client has not signed it, you can void it, you can delete it. Just once the client has signed it, it will keep as auditing records.
Okay, fantastic. I just wanted to clarify that. I wasn't sure with that one because I don't often have to void them. So, all right. So we're at this screen here. I want to send a new document or create a new document. And to do that, I go over here to the new. You can see here I can send a document, or here I can sign a document. So if I go send a document, it will take me to this screen where I can upload the PDF file that I want to do. So if I go upload files here to my desktop, do I have anything here? I'm just trying to find where I put it. I put it somewhere safe. I was doing it this morning. I'm just trying to find it. There we go. Put it back. So I'll try again. So upload my file. And this is the one I'm going to choose. Go open. Now you'll see, because I didn't come in through the client, it didn't pick up a name or email automatically. So in here I have to put in a name. And then in this case, this is a superannuation one. And so I have a message for my superannuation. And so in here, it's going to say, please find this, etc. Once again, the message you can customize to suit the requirements.
While you're here, Ali, there's a question from Ben asking where, how did you set the reminder?
I went into the advanced setting down near the messages and went into the change settings to create the reminder. Now, once the file's been uploaded, you'll see it's got a done and a tick. Now I've put in the details, how I want it to be. I've got my little message set up, what I want it to do, and I'm going to go to next. Now, what's different about this one is it's more than one page. And you'll see on the first page, I really don't have any space to put a signature. And this document I've created, if I go to my second page, I like to use this one because I have clients who are using QuickBooks Online where or MYOB Super, where it takes the money directly out of the bank account when it's authorised. And so because I am not a signatory to that bank account and I need to press that button to make it happen, I will always get authorisation in advance and make that in here. I put a little statement on the bottom of all my ones when I pull the reports out. I add this little statement at the bottom, save it as a PDF so that I can upload it in here. So you can see in here I've gone that blah, blah, blah. I authorise it to lodge via Beam. I understand this will result in a direct debit from the business account. So when I do that, now I put the cross under here for the client to sign. And then I send it for signature. And so now you can see it's pending signature. In a minute, you'll hear the bing, there'll be a bing that'll come into my email account, etc. One of the interesting things to also note is all the activity related to your document. If you highlight on this document here, it tells you the activity. First of all, it says here, there's the recipient. Down here, you'll see a copy of the message that you sent. In the activity, it will show you when things were sent, when it was sent, when it came back in, etc. So you have an audit trail of what's happened with this document. Karen's asked whether or not this webinar is being recorded. Yes, it will be recorded. And Tiana has mentioned it will be put back, it'll be put up on the Gov Reports site tomorrow. So you can see a nice little audit trail for your documents. In your documents too, you can see here that you can filter how they're displayed. You can see which ones expired, which ones were declined, because sometimes a client will decline something that you sent to them where they think something's not right or they think something should be changed. More often than not, when it happens for me, it's usually around the PAYG income tax instalment, and that's because things haven't been going as well and they want to do a revision on it. And so I'll touch base with the accountant to check that what we can do to be sure, and touch base with the client, and then I might send through a revised document, going back into this saved document, editing it and resending it for signature. So that's a little bit about how we can use this to send documents other than just the lodgements of returns that we might be lodging on behalf of our clients. Now, one of the other areas that we can utilize the digital authentication is in our letters and templates. So I'm just going to close, I'll go back to this screen here and go back into my saved reports. So what I want to look at now is our letters and templates. Now up here we have our settings. So we have our practice settings in here. And our practice settings cover a multitude of things. One of them will contain the letters and templates. Some of them will be to do with notification settings. So in here, how often you want to be notified, etc., recurring jobs, things like that. We have our templates and letters, which is an area where we can create a variety of templates and letters to be used and send them on to our clients. So any templates or letters that are in a pending status can actually be sent for e-signature. So you can see here that I've sent one up here as a TPAR, and I've got another one here, an engagement letter, and I can send that as out for e-signature. Now, because the template has been done and linked to a client name, any letter that is, any e-signature that goes out and things like that, any letter will actually be linked back to that client. And when you click on the send for e-signature, you'll find that will automatically reopen your digital authentication back to that same screen with the uploaded file, with the name here, and the message. In this case, it's a message that I've selected. I'm going to go back and choose a different one because I want to show you this one separately. So let's do this one. So you can see here, here's the name, here's what it's for. In here, you could choose the message or type a different message here. I want to come back and go and show you a little bit more in our clients area. And I'm coming back to the templates and letter to go a little bit more, but I want to show you what happens if you go to a client and you have a look at that client specifically. You'll see there's a tab here for letters. So any letter where it's the stage it's at, the letter status, accepted, pending, whatever, you can see here that it is linked specifically with that client because you have linked it in that templates area. And in here, you can also, if it's pending, send it for e-signature. You'll notice here, that one has already been accepted and completed. So you can see that you have a history here of all the letters that have been sent to that client through the system. Now, as I said, I'm going back to templates and letters in my practice settings for a reason. We know that there are a limit of 5 messages that you can send with any of the documents. Sorry, I lost my train of thought for a minute. So you have a limitation in the number of saved messages in the digital authentication to 5. Now we can overcome that by using our templates and letters to create a template where we have a message specifically set up for it. So I'm just going to go in here for a moment and just looking for my TPAR one just to double check whether it's sitting there in pending. Business, signature, quarterly super, no, that's all right. All right. So in here, I have this TPAR message, and that's a template I've created. So I want to create a new template. And if I go to my templates, I can view my templates, and you'll see here that I created a specific template called TPAR message. And how I did that was I simply clicked on the add template, and when I did, I set up the information here and I set up what I wanted the message to look like. And then I simply saved it. So now I'm going to click on this template and I'm going to start to use it because I've chosen engagement for this one, I'm just putting some dates in. So I'm just going to say the 1st of the 1st, 2022 to the 30th of the 6th, 2022. There's a couple of other options. And I'm now going to select the client I want it to go with. So it's my girl. And I'm going to save this one for the moment. Now I'm going to send this for e-signature. Now this is one I've said TPAR. Normally you'd use a normal thing for TPAR to go through. I'm just using this as an example. But in here, that's my TPAR message. I might like to upload the other document that I want to go with it. I'm just choosing anything at the moment because I want to demonstrate that if you're using Gov Reports to lodge your normal reports like TPAR, BAS, etc., and things like that, you can go through and do that through the normal lodgement way and attach a message that way. This way, I can create a new message for any other document that I like, and the message and the document will be together. I'm just going to ignore this section down the bottom here. I'm just going to change this for a moment so it's a different email. And I'm going to go to my next screen. Now, can you see here that you have two documents? One is the message. There's the little message that I set up in my template. And I don't need to sign the message. I don't need them to sign that. So I'm going to toggle that off so they only need to view that. My second document, when I click on this one here, is the one that I want them to sign. So then I would simply click on here and I would send it for signature. Okay. So you can see there that I've got the message that I want and I've got the document that I might want. Send it for signature and off it will go to the client for signature. I'm just going to go back and I don't want this one. I'm going to delete this. And that's the other thing you can do as well. If you make a mistake and you want to start over, before you even send it off for signature, you can go back a screen, delete it, and be done. That is pretty much what I have to cover today on digital signatures. To get back to basics with digital signatures, covering off quite a few bits and pieces and different ways you can use things. Tiana, there's a question there about having a template that's not linked to a client but used to send to a group of clients. So let me just go back into my settings, my practice settings, and I'll just show you in the templates and letters how I could have something, I could create, say, a monthly newsletter, for example. So in here, when I want to start this one, or I'm going to edit this one, this one's linked to a client. If I want to go and do a, let me have a look, find the one I want. Where's my monthly newsletter? In here, I can create a template, can go back and actually create a letter where I actually go through, and I'm just going to get rid of this one. Which one was it? It was this draft one, the draft one I wanted. So in here, when I go edit, I can go through, there was an option you'll notice when I went to send the new...
Just click add the letter.
Ali, you need to go to the template. From the template, you need to start template.
That's what I thought.
Just click on start on any of the template.
In there, there we go. All active clients.
All active clients archived. Yeah, select clients. You can add multiple, when you choose the select client.
It's been a while.
Click select clients.
Yep, and then you could select clients, and so then you could go through and choose
which clients.
Which clients?
All clients.
or all clients.
Okay. There's a questions from Patrick. This feature is not an addition, it's not an extra on the subscription that you have with GovReports. So if you have a valid subscription, it is included on GovReports. And if you don't renew GovReports subscriptions, the signatures that you have proof later on, you need to have a valid subscription to get access to the platform. So as you know, each and every time that you sign, the client sign the document, you would get a copy on your email. So this is why if you don't have a valid subscriptions, you won't be able to get access to these, to the previously signed documents that's on the system.
Now, just to allay people's fears there, say you were retiring and you needed to keep all your documentation, but for some reason you've had some issue. Don't forget, you have the option with GovReports is to use your practice manager there. Now, with your practice manager, you can link it to a Dropbox and upload copies of documents so that you're not only just keeping them in GovReports, but you also have a backup in say, Dropbox or wherever you want to store it, you know, SharePoint, wherever it may be. That way, say you were retiring, as I said, you've decided you're going to retire and you needed to keep those documents around in case there are any questions for the next so many years. You would have access to those copies as well if you let that, you know, GovReports lapse. I'm thinking about retirement. That's the most valid one I'm thinking for. To me, you know, it makes sense. I keep copies of all my documents, all the signed documents and everything in GovReports, and if I need them, I link them into Dropbox as well as an additional backup, both for security purposes and for my own satisfaction. I'm a little bit anal, I think, Tiana, that way, but you know, that's me.
Okay, sorry, my mind slipped away while I'm reading the questions from Judy. The question is, Ali, after I've lodged a BAS report and it is signed, I then send the payment options received from GovReports lodgement receipts from the client to pay. This include the BPay, etc. How can I do this for a super lodgement through the small business super clearinghouse, as no lodgement receipt with payment options is provided?
Okay, so when you go through the super clearinghouse, you have an option to do a printer-friendly version in PDF of the payment options. When you do that, you could then very simply just go into My Documents, go New, send a document, and send a copy off to your client that way. You can upload the file and then send it off, and it goes to the client that way, giving them the information that they need for the payment options, and you have a record that you've also sent it to them. Does that answer the question okay for you, Judy?
Okay. While we're waiting, we also have another question from Louise. Could Ali please go through the adding decorations for a quarterly superannuations on the bottom or attachment of the superannuation report before sending?
Yeah, sure. All I do there, and I'll need to drag my my actual PDF across to show you. So bear with me whilst I find where I put it, somewhere safe. There it is. Okay, I'm going to move this. I'm going to open this in this screen, and then I'm going to drag it across. If it will let me just minimize that. Okay, can you see the PDF document in front of you? Yes, I think you can. Yeah. So what I do in here is in the tools, I go edit, and on the bottom of the document, because I've got copies of this, I just cut and paste. But for the first one, what I did is I created this one myself. I added a text, clicked on my document, typed in my information and saved it as a PDF, updated my PDF. And then when I upload the document, it comes in with the PDF. Oh, I'm going to put a name in. Then it comes up on the second page with that, and I just simply put the X down there. So it's basically going through, editing the PDF and updating the PDF, saving it, and then bringing it in and sending it through that way. And I do that through all of them. I run all the reports out of QuickBooks Online or whichever one it may be. I go through and I add the edits at the bottom of them all, save them all ready, and then I upload them all and send them all.
Okay,
So then
there's a further questions on from Kelly. Any likelihood the number of custom messages being increased from 5 for BAS agents? At this stage, we haven't considered that, Kelly. So we will update you as we not too sure. Have to check with technical. Sandeep, do we have any?
No, we didn't get any requirement on that. So if there is a requirement, we can change that. Yeah, depends upon the count. We'll think about it, and I'll get back to you.
Okay. Another questions from Louise. Is this a paid subscription for PDF editing?
It's I've got an Adobe one, and I have a paid Adobe one. I don't know. There are other ones I think that you can go through and edit and do a certain amount of time things. I'm not sure which ones are free, which ones aren't free. But I use it. I have an Adobe subscription, so that's why mine is showing that I can do it that way, and I have a lot more tools in it. Only because I pay for that subscription, and I mean it's something like $18 a month, and it's it's handy for me.
Okay, so Kelly is just requesting for additional messages for BAS agents from 5 to 10. Okay, we also have another questions considering we do BAS, PAYG, super. Yep, okay. Yep, just requesting from 5 to 10. Thanks, Roger.
Yeah, that would be great, Tiana, to have some extra messages so that you could have a specific TPAR, a specific super, a specific BAS. You might want to have a different message when it goes out with a tax file number declaration or a tax return or whatever it may be. These days most of the softwares allow you to lodge within to do the tax file number declarations, but there are some people that don't have all of that, and so you need to be able to help them with that as well. So yeah, I'd love to see it more than 5, but of course you can always type it yourself as well.
We do. We'll come back to. We'll let you know once the development team is looking to that seriously, and we'll let you know when that's become available. Another questions that I didn't go through from Debbie. Can you select the landscape document to sign? Debbie, this has been fixed and available for you to upload landscape documents for clients to sign. So you should not have a problem on that. Any other questions at this stage? I believe that's all the questions that we have. Once again, thanks Ali for the presentation. It was very very informative, and I hope that's also you know, for a lot of people here, you have been able to pick up some ideas, some tips from Ali, and to use in your practice. Thank you. If you've got questions that we have not been able to cover in this webinar, please do not hesitate to send it to us, and we'll come back to you as soon as possible. And once again, thank you for your time, and we'll look forward to seeing you again on the next webinar.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Bye, Tiana.
Bye, Ali.